We now move to the 7 trumpets, symbol of a trumpet. The trumpet sounds to usher someone in, and in this case, the second coming of Jesus. The first 4 trumpets relate to an event that has occurred due to a combination of scientific discovery, man's selfishness, and the spiritual power of the horses. The last 3 trumpets are 3 woes, and these will be covered in a later lesson.
But the whiz of English arrows was not the only sound of firepower at Crecy. Edward had brought to the battle a handful of bombards, early cannon that hurled stone balls. The bombard was loud, inaccurate, and did little more than frighten the French horses. Yet it delivered the opening shot in a revolution that would transform war and civilization forever. Gunpowder.
France ended the last war victoriously in the trenches, so the natural tendency was to build bigger and better trenches, culminating in that super-colossal trench, the trench de luxe, the Maginot Line. In these fantastic underground fortresses were stored enough supplies to withstand a siege of years. The military leaders assured the French people that this mighty wall of steel and concrete made France impregnable. Those who dared criticize this plan of defense were sharply reminded that the French General Staff was the greatest on earth. Air power became the spearhead of attack, blasting clear a path for his ground forces. Under this shield of air power, the Nazi hordes poured into France. The mighty Maginot Line proved no barrier against this new kind of warfare. But like the French army, the British Navy underestimated the tremendous war potential of air power. So the world's mightiest navy, utterly helpless, was forced to retire to the protection of the Royal Air Force, driven back not by another navy, but by this totally new military force, air power.
early morning, August the 6th, 1945, the Pacific island of Tinian. The bomber Enola Gay takes off bound for Japan. In its belly is the world's first atomic bomb. Its target is the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The use of this new and terrifying weapon would mark a critical turning point in the history of mankind.
For 2.5 million years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated, cycling from ice ages to warmer periods. But in the last century, the planet's temperature has risen unusually fast, about 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists believe it's human activity that's driving the temperatures up, a process known as global warming. Ever since the Industrial Revolution began, factories, power plants, and eventually cars have burned fossil fuels such as oil and coal, releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere.
Machines, inventions, power, black out the past. Forget the quiet cities. Bring in the steam and steel, the iron men, the giants. Open the throttle, all aboard, the promised land. Pillars of smoke by day, pillars of fire by night, pillars of progress. Machines to make machines, production to expand production. Enough for tens, thousands, millions, millions, faster and faster, better and better.
At the beginning of the 20th century, factories and chimneys sprang up as never before. The burning of coal and oil increased wealth in an inferno of smoke, steam and soot. And for people living in the constantly expanding industrial cities, smoke from chimneys became a natural part of daily life.
On Friday morning, we were walking to school. We could barely see the street lights, and they were on, and we could hardly see the traffic signals along McCain Avenue.
And it was like night at 12 o'clock noon on the main street in Denora. Yes. It was like midnight.
The local government blamed it on Harbin's coal-powered central heating, turned on over the weekend. But critics say China's pollution is a terrifying side effect of the country's decades-long obsession with growth.
The country consumes nearly half of the world's supply of coal. The report warns that despite efforts to combat climate change, the problem has only gotten worse, and that another 15 years of failure could make it almost impossible to fix.